Hey there! Welcome back to another entry of Lena's Gardening Journal. Today is September 18th of 2021. It's a little gloomy today on the Pacific Northwest, but my heart is not gloomy like the weather because it's dahlia season. My one little dahlia plant that I have in my backyard is putting a big smile on my face. Let me show you real quick. This one that I have right here is a formal decorative dahlia. It's a variety called creme de cassis. It has very strong, sturdy stems that are able to hold these beautiful showy flowers upright. Despite the heavy rain and strong winds that we had last night, she didn't even flinch. This plant is a true beauty queen of autumn. I am so in love with dahlias right now, and because I'm so new to gardening, I really had no idea how many types were out there. 2 weeks ago, I had a chance to visit the Dahlia Garden at Point Defiance Park in the city of Tacoma, and boy oh boy, it really blew my mind. It was so gorgeous. They have a lot of beautiful flower gardens there, not just the dahlias. They have a rose garden, iris and rhododendron gardens. They have the Japanese garden. Literally, you could go there any time of year and there'll be something really beautiful for you to see. So today, as we walk through the Dahlia garden together, I want to be talking about the different types of dahlias that are grouped together by their flower forms. Let's go and take a look. All of the materials that I'm using for my video comes from this place here, the Dahlia Trial Garden at Point Defiance Park in the city of Tacoma. It's really amazing how well kept and well maintained this place is. The Dahlia Garden is located right next to the Rose Garden, and there's a sneak peek of the entrance to the Rose Garden. For plant and flower lovers, you'll find yourself in Wonderland and you'll never want to leave. This place is also free to the public. What a wonderful gift to the people of the city and people who live nearby. I come here often for inspiration. Now let's begin our little tour. During my visit that day, I realized that I was looking at so many different types and varieties of dahlias that I'd never seen before. This urged me to come back home and do more research on the dahlia flowers, and I found out that there are so many types of dahlias out there there's so much more than what is commonly and widely sold in store. Let's take a look at the first type, which is the decorative type. This is probably the most popular one out there as well, and it's also the one that I have in my garden. Decorative dahlias were what began my love affair with these beautiful flowers. Decorative dahlias could be divided into two smaller subcategories, formal and informal. Formal decorative dahlias will have petals that are generally flat and broad, and they will be evenly and regularly placed on the flowers, while the placement of the petals on the informal type will be somewhat irregular, and the petals on the informal type can also be curled or wavy as well. Right now we're looking at the formal decorative dahlia type, and while I was researching on this type, I came across another type called water lily dahlias, and I find that these two types are very similar in looks that it's hard to distinguish between a formal decorative dahlia and a water lily dahlia. They both have petals that are fully double and flat and broad and that are placed like evenly on the flowers. But I think water lily dahlias, as the name suggests, it should look more like a water lily flower in that should be more flat, especially from the side view. And the center of the water lily dahlia should also be closed and dome shaped. And I think those are some of the features that would set these two types apart. Let's take a look at this next one that I think belongs to the informal decorative type. This is also a dinner plate dahlia. It is so large. This one's diameter, I think, was about 8 inches. It is so beautiful. This is the front of the flower. The reason I said that is because I want to show you the back side of this flower. It looks just as beautiful, and sometimes it's so hard to tell which is the back and which is the front because they're both gorgeous. Some sources tell me that dinner plate dahlia doesn't belong to any type of classification, doesn't fall under any type. It's kind of like its own thing. While some websites say that dinner plate dahlias are actually informal decorative dahlias. But to me, it doesn't matter what they are. They're so gorgeous that I want one in my garden. I want more than one, actually. I found one that was almost the size of my head. It was mind-blowing. I couldn't resist having my picture taken with it. Now let's move on to the next flower form. This is the cactus type. This is probably the showiest of all the dahlia flowers. The cactus type is divided into three smaller categories again. Oh boy. So there's semi-cactus, straight cactus, and incurved cactus. Cactus dahlias are the dahlia flowers with petals that are revolute, or they are rolled backward. The flowers we're looking at here are semi-cactus dahlias. This is probably the most popular one out of all the cactus types. They are called semi-cactus because the petals are not fully revolute all the way. They kind of start out flat and broad at the base, and then halfway through they'll become revolute, and then maybe towards the tip they'll become fully revolute. While straight cactus dahlias will have petals that are fully rolled back all the way from base to tip. Like this one right here. This is a straight cactus dahlia. Cactus dahlias kind of give out this like starburst effect, and I think that's why they're so popular. Now, incurved cactus. Incurved cactus, like the straight cactus, they have petals that are fully revolute, except that these petals of the incurved kind will curve upward towards the face of the bloom. Our next type of dahlias are so perfectly round and symmetrical, it's kind of hard to believe that they're naturally made. They are the ball and pom-pon dahlias. We talked about flowers with revolute petals in the cactus type. Now with this type, the petals do the opposite. They are involute, meaning that they curl upward and inward. The blooms of ball and pom-pon dahlias have fully double flowers. They are ball-shaped. Sometimes they are slightly flattened at the face. The only difference between ball and pom-pon dahlias are probably their sizes. Ball dahlias are bigger than pom-pons. Pom-pon dahlias are 2 inches or sometimes smaller. Look at these gorgeous flowers. Don't they just look like way too perfect? It's almost too good to be true. Alright, so now we have talked about the 3 main types of dahlias already. Decorative dahlia, cactus dahlia, and ball and pom-pon dahlias. When I first started to garden, which was only a couple of years ago, I literally thought that that was the end of dahlias, that were the only types. But boy, was I wrong. These first few types that we just talked about, they make great cut flowers. They look great in flower arrangements. They're not so much pollinator favorites, mostly because they're not open-centered flowers. So these next few types that I'm going to take you through are the absolute favorites of the bees and butterflies because they have open centers. Let's begin with these first 2 types, the single and semi-double dahlias. The descriptions are pretty straightforward. The single dahlias have a single row of flat petals in a flat plane surrounding a disc, while the semi-double dahlias have 2 or more rows of petals. What we are looking at here right now is the single dahlias, and the next one coming up is the semi-double dahlias. After seeing how popular single and semi-double dahlias are among the bees, I'm probably gonna have to grab 1 or 2 and put them in my garden next year. The next 2 types are Collarette and Anemone dahlias. These ones are Collarette dahlias. Their blooms have a single row of flat petals surrounding a disc, much like the single dahlias, but Collarette dahlias will have a set of petaloids, which are the smaller and shorter petals that you see here forming a collar around the disc. And these are Anemone dahlias. Some of these names are pretty hard to pronounce. Anemone dahlia's most distinctive feature, in my opinion, is their disc, which is composed of a dense group of elongated tubular florets. They may have 1 or more rows of petals surrounding the disc. The last type of dahlias that I saw at the Dahlia Trial Garden that day was orchid dahlias, which is this one right here. Orchid dahlias are like single dahlias in that the disc is surrounded by only 1 row of petals, except that the petals of orchid dahlias are involute for most of their length. Alright, I think that concludes our Dahlia garden tour at Point Defiance Park today. After that, I spent what felt like an eternity in the Rose Garden, which is located in the same vicinity. There are many other types of dahlias, including peony and stellar, which I didn't see that day. Maybe I might have missed them. I also went on September 1st, which was still a bit early into the dahlia season. There were a couple of plants that either haven't bloomed or just finished their first flush. I'm hoping to go back there once again before the growing season ends because the show is truly spectacular. Hey, I hope you enjoyed walking through these beautiful dahlia flowers with me today. Thank you for watching and happy gardening. Bye.